Hello, my fellow humans. Today, we're thrilled to introduce Farid Kheloco from Purely Startup, a dynamic entrepreneur and seasoned coach who has journeyed through various walks of life, have shaped his unique perspective on business and personal development. Farid shares his invaluable insights on how embracing the right mindset and leveraging AI technology can transform not only your entrepreneur endeavors, but also enhance your life balance. Let's dive in. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to our podcast. I'm glad to have a guy who I've never met before in my life. This is the first time ever, Farid, with us. Farid, I'd love to have you introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and yeah, we'll go from there.
Hey, Justin, thanks for having me on the podcast. And just come from a lot of different walks of life. I kind of officially call myself a father, an entrepreneur, an adventurer, and really just been serial entrepreneurial. I can't speak serial entrepreneur, and helped a bunch of people kind of start businesses over the course of the way. And I really just believe a lot in just helping people get to where they want to go. I was kind of helped by a mentor throughout my life. And so I find myself in different roles, be it a consultant, be it a web developer or a coach. But there's always trying to help people get to where they want to be, usually around entrepreneurship.
No, that's amazing. And I have a hard time saying that word entrepreneur to myself. See, I can't even do it.
At one point in my life of helping people with entrepreneurship, I was a director of a nonprofit around entrepreneurship, and I used to freak out because I couldn't spell the word entrepreneurship. And I'd have to write it on a whiteboard all the time. That one day like a third grader, I was like, I will write this 100 times on the board and I'll learn how to do this properly.
Good idea. I probably need to do that. I understand the word, but I still know how to spell it very well. My dyslexia makes it a little hard sometimes.
Same here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'd like to know more about your life with coaching. And you were talking about you had some coaching businesses, you've coached people. I'd like to kind of know more about how that helped you become who you are today with like leadership and helping people build the systems in life that they need.
Totally. Yeah. It's funny. I got into coaching. I would say I was looking for a quick thing to do, right? After it was right around COVID, I had been terminated from my position due to budgetary constraints and whatnot. And I was looking for a transition, and I sort of found myself with a lot of unique knowledge around how to start businesses small, how to start authentically, and how to use a lot of tools to get started. And I had done a lot of consulting kind of on the side all the time as a side gig. And so I felt really comfortable with sharing that knowledge. And I wanted to figure out, well, how do I do that? What does that look like? How do I package and share this type of knowledge? And coaching was a natural way to get online and be able to do that, and was packaged in a way for me to be able to recreate and put out there. I think the process of being a coach changed my life more than I expected, as I start seeing how important coaching was throughout my life. And I never really identified it till I went out to be a coach myself. And I used to coach when I was a teenager. I used to coach kids ski racing, and I used to have great ski racing coaches growing up as a child. And then I had great mentors in business as well. And I really kind of saw, as I start coaching individuals, it was that impact. It was those little things that you kind of take for granted, and people coming back to you weeks later, years later now at some points, saying, man, you changed my life with that one statement. And like that gave me a lot of energy. And that gave me a lot of like, man, all those things that you kind of take for granted, if you shared them with somebody else, you could change their life with that if you did it with the right intentions.
Right?
And that gave me a lot of fire that I don't coach anymore. It's not my title. If you go to LinkedIn, it's the CEO of an AI company, but we really bake that. It's our ethos. As we say, like, it's no jargon. We're not techies. We're coaches. We're here to help you with the subject. And I think I will always be a coach, no matter what my title is from now on out.
I agree with that. I mean, as we go through our business and our life, we're kind of always the coaching people, always trying to help them get from point A to point B with our knowledge. So it's like, how are we not coaches? or consultants or whatever title you want to use there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think like even if we look at very one-way relationships that we usually look at, I think when we talk about sales, right? A lot of our
Yeah.
minds go to used car sales or whatever. And I think when we start looking at even sales as a term of coaching, if we approach it like that, and people are much better positioned with the solutions that are going to solve their problems. And that's all what we're trying to do at the end of the day is try to cut through all the noise and figure out what are the problems, what's the core areas, and how can we all solve it, whether you're a coach or you're a solution provider or anything that you may be. I think if you have that hat and that mindset, you're going to be able to
I
go and
like that.
provide value and do well.
I like that. You're kind of like you're their advisor. You're kind of like not just trying to sell them anything. You're trying to actually help them progress to the next level.
Yeah.
'Cause like you said, there's so many tools out there, so many products out there. Like it can be overwhelming trying to figure out what to use, how to use it, and then who to work with.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like if it was a physical product that I sold you and I walked away from, I want you to have a good brand value or whatever. But when we look at SaaS, when we look at services, when we look at coaching and such, we're providing these tools and the true value is in our long-term value, right? And if we can stick around and
Yeah.
we can be there and be used and be trusted, that's where we develop true long-term value for our businesses and our products and our solutions that we're providing.
100%, because that person who's selling that product, you want to make sure you have a good relationship with them, someone you can kind of do long term. There's so many people, they're like, okay, here's this product, good luck. And you're like, okay, well, it is very inhumane sometimes how people approach those things. I've seen kind of now that people will have that, they want to be more helpful, involved, like you said, coaching, advising, just being a human being with them and trying to help them figure things out and be there for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, take what we do with the AI, for instance. We're learning that like
Yeah.
it was an interesting aspect, right? Because we couldn't rest on our laurels by saying we know what you need, or even you know what you need. Because in that world, nobody
I don't know
really
what
knows
I
what they
need.
need yet, right? And what you can need changes tomorrow because everything
Yeah.
is being developed so quickly. And so it really is a coaching, and we have to treat every single one of our clients. It's not like software development. It's really understanding the people, the whys, the when do humans need to be involved? When can automations ease the work?
Ooh,
What's right for each individual organization? And even more, each individual executive that you're talking to, how do they want to be represented by this new tool that, it's a pretty personal thing that we're doing, representing them by a tool. How do they want to be represented and how do they want to interact? And I think all that can't get from a form. You can't automatically, you have to come in there kind of with that coaching hat, with that caring hat, and really understand the human that you're developing any of this for.
I like how you put that. It's kind of what we're trying to build here in this community, letting people understand more that we're more than just a provider, but we're kind of like the leader that they need for their company to help them and guide them to things they need to do and where they need to be.
Yeah. Yeah. It felt like sometimes when you reminisce or you chat with old clients or stuff like that, more often than not, I find like it's the things that you wouldn't have picked out were the most important things that you said were the most important things. And I think the only way to have that full relationship is to organically build it and be there for that. If you can deliver without those things, but I don't think you deliver as well.
It feels empty almost sometimes, like something's missing. It's just so transactional
Yeah.
without
Yeah, and
it.
I can see that like if you're a large scale, right? There's some services I can think of, I don't know, Uber or Tesla or certain things. I enjoy how clean and transactional those things are. But there's certain other areas that I want more of those nuances. I want to know that that person who's my expert in the room cares about me, to have thought about the
Yeah.
questions that I forgot to ask.
To
And
the
I think,
time and place. How did you get this mindset and ability to kind of understand this? How do you find the clarity to understand that this is the right way to approach these things? Did it come naturally? Was it something you learned over time? Can you walk us through that?
yeah, it's a really good question. I think like it was as of recent. right? I think I went through half of my career. I don't know how long I'll work for the future, so maybe not half. I went through a fair amount of my career without putting those two and two together. And what's really interesting is I think as a kid and socially, I loved a lot of these things, a lot of these mindset things, a lot of the meditation, religion, different things always intrigued me. And I was always very open to those things, but I looked at them as being separate from business. I can put this Farid hat on and they can be introspective and mindset. And that's all personal life. And once we move into this business side of things, we need to put a suit and act very logically and don't let emotion, but yeah, think with your brain and not bit of your stomach. And it was only as I became a coach, it was actually one of my first coaches that taught me how to coach, kind of sold the program with zero mindset involved. And it was at least 60 to 70% mindset. And it was a Xander Fryer with high impact coaching out. And I think he's like Encinitas now. So I was out in the East Coast back then, but now we feel like we're all neighbors. But I thought it was like the most remarkable thing. And I drop his name because he really did change my life. And I don't know him. I have no affiliation with him. Signed up for his online program type of a thing. And
If you're out
man,
there.
there was so much mindset there and so much breaking through your own fears and looking at your own personal stuff that changed my life, that I included that into my coaching. And I now, we're 7 years out from my first clients in coaching, 6, 7 years out. And I'm talking to them and they're like reminiscing, man, 5 years ago, I started my business after coaching. The most important thing from your classes were none of your business stuff. It was the mindset stuff. And it was really validating, like, wow, the
Orphan.
most powerful impact that I was creating and the most powerful impact that I had on myself was all this mindset. And then I furthermore start really following this guy, James Wedmore, and he has a podcast called Mind Your Business. And it's all about the mindset of business. And he listening to him and following his stuff made me feel like I can be woo-woo in business. I can bridge these things together. And ever since I made that leap in my life and my business, oh man, there's been no looking back. Things just kind of land. Things start falling into
Feels
place.
different, doesn't it?
Even the negatives, feel like, okay, I understand what I did not show up, or what was holding me back, or what that I can positively assess and address and how to fix that instead of look back and go, woe is me. I guess it wasn't my turn or
I'm
whatever.
the devil.
And I think that construct, in Purely Startup, we talk about what we do and we talk about how that resonates. And if that doesn't feel good and such, when we hire, if it's not right with one person in the company, it's a hard no. So it's like a gauntlet. One person gets a heebie vibe. We don't ask questions. We just move on. But with that, I think we create something slightly different is my hope. And I think that we create something that allows us to kind of authentically be there. So long way to answer your question, but yeah, mindset came to me. It was very natural personally. It was not very natural as a business. And once I brought that into my business, I feel like it changed everything personally.
Ooh, that was so powerful. I've been through that myself. I know how that feels. It's interesting because I've worked with so many different companies, and I also went through that where it's kind of going through life. Like, okay, I guess I'm supposed to be stressed out, anxious, and depressed, and feeling like shit. But it's part of no, it's normal. It's normal to
Yeah.
feel like this, disconnected from everyone, and but then I always knew something was missing here. And like you said earlier, the authentication. You can feel that from people, like when you hire them or when you work with them, you feel that intensity, that energy from them. They don't feel like they're just disconnected and not all there and all present. So like everyone I feel in this right now, they're really looking for that. They really connect with people in business and personal. And we need that more in business. It makes it just feel so much more warm and amazing, and you want to continue to do business.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, that's, you touch a little bit on maybe jumping forward in our conversation. I feel like you touch a little bit on what my hopes are, like with AI a bit, right? Because I always hear this conversation like, oh man, AI can take our jobs. And I'm like, let's take ownership. Let's change our mindset.
Yes.
We own the tools, we own the change. I'm very aware of that, right? While we develop AI, we don't develop anything that an executive doesn't tell us exactly what to do. And so we develop it for them. And so if we change our mindset around that, like I find so much we don't have time for to be a team. We don't have time to chat with each other and be there for each other and slow down our pace a little bit because we got all this stuff to do. My hope, I guess, is that AI does all the stuff so we can get back to all the mindset and be zoned in for our meeting because we're not running around researching it. We're ready. We walk in confident with a PDF that AI has given us a whole profile on this thing. We didn't do that hard work. And my hope is that we don't waste the time or we don't try to do twice as much sales, but we just approach those sales with a lot more mindset and intentionality, and we can be zoned in and there for the human. And we might be able to create like a better humanistic society because of this AI robotic technology, you know?
Oh, I hope so. I know some people may, like you said just now, that some may be at that point where they're trying to get more sales, do more, and maybe they're scared to face their humanity to actually take that time to connect. I know people can be like, no, I'm good on that, you know?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah. It's like,
they're just gonna face you with it.
yeah, it's exactly like I hope that we can like figure out a way, like a happy balance and a medium where we're being able to approach some of these things. Like I think that we see these things with our society that's indicative of our terrible mindsets. And we start seeing some things with like, we can be there more for our families, so we can be there more for ourselves and our mental health and our self-care. And
Right?
show up better for our teams. And I think the best way to do that with spending the same amount of money is to do it through technology and AI and such. And
Yes.
hopefully we authentically build these systems as we start building them. We're not building them to just optimize time. We're really looking at the 360 of the individual, optimizing the whole. And I think we have an opportunity to do that if we're intentional about it.
I like how you said that about family and being time with family. I just had a conversation. Well, actually, I had this conversation a few times with different people where they're like, okay, how do you work so much, but then how do you have time for your family? You know, you're trying to build a business, you work for a company, and people in their mindset, they can only think, I can do one or the other, but you can't do both. But in reality, you really can do both. Like you're
Yeah.
talking about using AI as that tool. And I wanted to introduce and talk more about AI with you as well.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. That's what started Purely Startup, right? Is I
Right.
was on a road trip with my family. We had set off on a 15-month road trip across. I mean, not, we didn't have a defined end date at the time, but we were driving until we got bored of it. And here I am with a young family, 4 and 6-year-old boy. My wife is homeschooling them. She dropped a lot of her clients to be able to focus on the family. And I was the sole breadwinner. And I mean, bringing in most of the income in at that time, not the sole at all at that point. That would be unfair to say. But I find myself totally burning out from my job at the time.
Ooh.
And I ended up having to take a tech time out for like 3 to 4 weeks. And I was just totally overwhelmed and burnt out because I was always taking on more and saying yes. And then doing all this crazy stuff with my personal life, driving around in an RV with the family, admittedly. Right. But after that tech time out, I kind of came back and I said, okay, I want to start a company. I want to get back to my essence. After all these years of helping other people get started, I'd taken about a decade since I had my own business. I was like, I want to get back into it. And I was working with some colleagues and such, and we kind of fell into it of me saying, hey, I'm with my family. I'm really dedicating time with them. I'm trying to be away from technology because I got so burnt out. So how can we do this? How can we build this site? How can we do this social media strategy without me being involved? I'm driving around. I don't have very good access to internet, whatnot. And so we
Ooh.
start using these AI and workflows and processes to do it. And then hiring individuals offshore and remotely to fill in those gaps. And I didn't have the idea that this business was going to be about providing that same solution to others. It was really about building websites for others at that point in time. It was more like, looked like a web development company than what we do now. And I start saying like, man, that's the key. That the first business that I operated differently was I came in from day one and I was able to keep what was core values to me important. And I went in and said, what other workflows need to be there? What other strategies? So from day one, we built out the company and I could be the CEO instead of being all the pieces involved. And for
Ooh.
then, I was able to start a company without burdening my family's relationships. I was able to do that. And we were able to really grow without too many stumbling points, because it wasn't like, how do you make a new task? How do we re-engineer these processes to work as we grow? And so for that, I was able to kind of really understand like, man, if I could provide this to other entrepreneurs, other people who want to get started, who can use AI so they don't have to burn their family relationships in order to build their business. It was always this ebb and flow that I was seeing from supporting entrepreneurs in my past of, where are we going to, with that term, like rob Peter to pay Paul, right? Like, where are we going to take from in our lives so we can push it into this thing? And I said, maybe we can do both if we're starting out the build process, smartly.
Yeah, we all have the same 24 hours in the day.
Yeah.
How can we utilize those better?
How do we want to do it? Exactly. How do we want to utilize them? Because they're going to get spent regardless whether we utilize them or not.
Right?
Yeah. No, I get asked, like, when I think about, what I want to do more of when AI takes my job, it's like play Legos with my kids is the goal and stuff like that. Go camping. I'd
So
like
people
to
always
produce.
talk about that. AI is going to take my job. I'm like, well, what if it does? You have more time for your family now. You have more time to do real human things now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One of the things that I learned in my mindset journey, something that I struggled with, and I thought, like, I was always taught like hard work equals success.
Same.
I think we have that, that paradigm is very popular in our mindsets. And I think it's doing the right things equals success, and
Ooh, I like how you
not
said
necessarily equal to hard work. You can do a lot of hard work on the wrong tasks and not achieve success.
100. I mean, most entrepreneurs, they are lazy, you
Yeah.
know? That's how they find ways to do things to make their job better.
Exactly. You can put me right in that category. And that's the thing. Like, I also, have ADD, I have dyslexia. And so I'm really good at doing something for the first time. You make me do that thing 10 times over, times 7, 8, and 9 are going to get worse and worse and worse. Because then I have enough brain power to think about something else while I'm doing the thing, right? And get distracted. But the first time I'm like really engaged and super focused at building it. And so I'm like, yeah, I'm lazy. I built a company that all I have to do is build the workflow once, identify it, and let AI and automations really handle that thing. And,
You're onto something there, man.
a great team of individuals. Yeah, exactly. And, but that's, fits my unique working, capabilities. And I know a lot of people who are more, you know, oriented in getting the whole task done themselves and everything are not as inclined to say, yeah, let me give that all off to AI. But for us lazy guys, entrepreneurs, we got a lot going on. And I think it forces us to build the company out right. It forces us not
Yeah.
to build things around what we're good at, because then we get trapped in those roles. And that's the giant barrier to scaling.
That whole on the work on the business, not in the business.
Yeah. And it's like, that's I feel like that's like the impossible paradigm, is to work on the business, not in the business. And
I
that's
feel
great,
like it's,
showing up with 100 million of your own money and you can just fund all the jobs you need. But,
here you go, AI.
we figured, how do you still do that? How do you get around and do that?
I believe with AI and automation is key to that, because I read an article a while ago. They were talking about we're in the times where there will be a first trillionaire or more with a one-person CEO business running AI and automation in the background. So yeah,
Wow. Yeah, that's
I can
amazing.
see that. I can see that. We're on the forefront of it right now.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, we see this double end shift, and we've been seeing it kind of happen. You see AI is kind of helping the bigger get bigger, which is I'm a champion of the small guy. I always want to see that dog start. So like that's not the greatest thing in my world. I enjoy those services. Don't get me wrong.
Same.
But still the small guy, I think it's very interesting because it lets the small guy do more with less. For the small guy or gal, right?
Yes.
So I remember as a coach, one of the biggest barriers to leaving your 9 to 5 job and getting started in coaching or consulting that I'd hear from my clients was time. And it was like, well, yes, okay, that's a nice one. I can't provide you more time. I don't have that figured out. But, yeah, I can change your mindset around time and I can help you do that. But if you are not focused on mindset, focused on this time thing, there's a lot of barriers to get you to be open to those changes. Well, now we were able to just say, okay, sure, I know time is not necessarily the issue, but let's play ball. Let's call it time. And now we can create workflows and team members and everything to do the tasks for you while you're still working your normal job. And so this way you can generate the income via these automations and workflows and everything to create yourself a job. And then you can transition. By that point, you should be the CEO already at that point because you have enough team to created the job for yourself. And so now that like you've gotten to the goal that you needed to, whether you intentionally want to or not, but we're able to solve the actual problem, which was fun, right? It was like time,
Yes.
money, all those things kind of go out the window. Now we can get started. And then hopefully now we can create real jobs onshore because we were able to get past that startup phase where we couldn't create a single job. And so,
Right. And that time construct is like doesn't really exist. It's like you said, it's a mindset. Because like I'm in that boat right now and I understand it, but you don't, like you say, you don't change the mindset with it, then you're always in that kind of same construct of your 9 to 5, not being an entrepreneur. It's a
yeah,
different mindset.
yeah, especially as an entrepreneur. I mean, there's a lot of things pulling at you. I need to do a million things today, and I don't need to do anything today. I could say no to it all. And,
Right?
and so, one of the things I still struggle with, and I try to correct myself as I can, is if I say I don't have the time to that, I try to slow down and say like, no, I'm not allocating the time to that.
Ooh, I like that.
Change that. And then I have the
Yeah.
control and the power over it. Because realistically, I could choose to not be on this podcast right now and work on a task. It's
100%.
using my allocation of time to whatever. And then I have to make sure that I'm doing that for my own self, that I am getting what I want out of my allocation of time. But then it puts all the ownership back in my lap
I
on
like
how
you said, the
you do it.
ownership.
Yeah.
A lot of people do that. They're like, "Oh, I don't have time for this. I don't have time for that." It's not about you don't have the time, is that you don't understand how to make the time for those things.
Yeah.
You have to make time. Like I said, we only have 24 hours in a period. You have to figure out how to time manage, how to arrange yourself to make time for the things that are important to you. You gotta make
Uh-huh.
time for everything. You can't say yes to everything. You have to make time for those things that are gonna move the needle forward in the direction that you're trying to go in.
You got
Make
it. Yeah. I
time.
mean,
Yeah.
that's totally how I feel. It's easy if I said, like, I don't have time to call my dad or play ball with my son or whatever.
Mm,
It's like, oh man, I feel bad. I don't have the time. When I change the wording to say, I don't allocate the time to call my dad or play with my son, then I go like,
ownership.
oof, do I really, like, is that the decision that I want to make? And I can think about that and I can choose to do the same thing tomorrow or not. But it puts the question, at least it gives you the right question to ask.
I like that. How you put that. That truly is the entrepreneur mindset. Right? People, I think sometimes we are crazy mofos wanting to trade our 9 to 5 for a 24/7, 365. What were we thinking?
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's To me, it was the thing that I was always thinking about the business, whether or not I was working on it or not. And I'd find myself working these 9 to 5s and then like wanting to cut out at 5 and then go figure out something else to think
Yep.
about and look into. So yeah, I was trying to make sure that like whatever I'm working on the business, I really resonate with and enjoy because you're gonna be doing it with with all your
It's
down.
so different. I've always found it fascinating because I still have a 9 to 5, but that mindset versus the entrepreneur, I enjoy doing the entrepreneurial task. I enjoy moving that needle forward. It's your baby of whatever you're trying to build and go towards. It feels differently, it resonates differently, and it hits differently. And now we
Yeah,
have AI to help it.
yeah, when you're growing something, and I think and I've worked with a lot of entrepreneurs and worked with a lot of people. I tried to convince a lot of people to become entrepreneurs. And I've learned that it's not right for everybody. And I think
No, it's not.
older year, I didn't understand that when I was young. And
I
then
just
my
understood that maybe 3 months ago.
really, yeah. I used
Yeah,
to say to people when I actually became like when I worked as the executive director of Spark, and we're helping people start businesses. So it was like my full time job was evangelizing entrepreneurship. I'd say that times fast.
nope, I'm good.
Yeah, but
AI, can you do that for me, please?
exactly. But I used to start saying we were like championing entrepreneurship. This is 13, so it was really a big term back then. And we were championing entrepreneurship, and I was like, this is the wrong thing to sell. I used to say, I started saying entrepreneurship is an affliction. Like, I have this problem and I need to be an entrepreneur. It's not like the goal. The best thing to do is
Hi,
like,
everyone. I'm Justin. I'm an entrepreneur.
yeah, then you can like support your families and have like steady income and consistency stuff. And, and I say that all tongue in cheek as I don't believe a lot of those things. But, that's the way to go, right? And like, it was the entrepreneur got kind of idolized for a few years, I think.
It
And
did.
I think it drew a lot of people to say, "Ooh, this is cool. Like, I want to do it." And I think like the only people who should do it are the people who can't not do it, and because
Ooh, I
it's
feel that.
what it takes, right? It's like almost like you go to your nine to
Burning
five
passion.
and you're just like doing the side gig just because that's what's fun for you to do after your 9 to 5. And then I think those are the right people who like are gonna go through the thick and thin, and that's just my personal opinion.
Well, it definitely reads you out because if you're not made for this, not built for this, haven't found your purpose to do this, like it's going to read you out real fast.
Yeah,
You're going to go back to your 9 to 5. You can go back to your ex-wife, whatever it is. You're going to go back to it.
yeah, it's exactly. It's I think doing anything at that level, right, is it is tough if you want to be a content creator. One of the best
Oof,
quotes I heard was from a coach was saying like so many of his clients were upset that they didn't have more than 100 followers, but were also worried about the one or two negative comments that they were getting on their content. And they're like, the world is not giving you those followers because you're not ready for it. You're not mentally prepared enough for that. Because if you had 1 million
100.
followers, are you ready for the 100,000 comment? And
I've
it
heard
was like
that.
the world is going to give you what you're ready for. Same sort of thing if you're a basketball star or insert any other way to excel. I think it's challenging. You're gonna find yourself that there's more haters than supporters out there at
Yes.
some tipping point of your growth, and you need to be strong enough, and you need to be strong enough mentally with your systems and your mindset in place to be able to handle that, and then you'll be ready for that growth. And I think entrepreneurship, it's very visible because that growth looks like our business is open or it's closed. But in other careers, you might not notice it as much, but I think it takes that same tenacity and drive to get
It
it done.
really does. I was in my 9 to 5. I do like it still. But I know that before I started my business and started building these systems, not only on myself but in like my own business, I just felt like the passion came through. It's like someone reached down and touched me with this, like, this must be done, my lord, kind of thing. The entrepreneurial stick of passion or whatever.
Absolutely. No, it's when it's right, it's right. And I think that's the mind, to bring it back to mindset as well, right? That's
Yeah.
like, it's understanding that. I think it's about understanding what you want enough to craft your ask of the world, of the environment, of the universe, and then
How bad do you
going,
want it?
being convicted in enough to keep working on it day after day, because it's not just asking the world, it's putting energy out there to receive. And then I think like it takes the time too. It takes those reps. And so if you don't love it enough, you're never going to do the reps enough to finally get there. And I think you put those three things together and you're going to be successful.
100%. I like how you said that you have to do the reps. You have to build skill upon skill upon skill. People see these YouTubers, influencers out there, these large entrepreneurs are making millions of dollars, and they don't understand what's gone into that, the reps they put into the time. That's from compounding over 5, 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
They just see the outcome, but not the part that they took to build up to that.
Yeah.
That builds the backbone, that builds that system into your life. Very well said.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Just thinking about it this morning, I was giving the advice, but I heard it from like a podcast I was listening to. But he was like, it was a YouTuber and he was going to the successful YouTuber for advice on how to become successful. And the guy was like, well, first thing you need to do is go create 100 crappy YouTube videos and then come back to me and ask for advice. And I'll give you more advice then. And he's like, so I went and I created the 100 crappy YouTube videos and I went back to go ask for advice. And I realized most of the things I needed to ask about, I had already figured out on my own. And it was just like, by the time you get to 100, if you get to 100 crappy YouTube videos, they're not going to be crappy anymore. By the time you
Yes,
got,
that is so true. I've been noticing that through my journey. Like looking back, I'm like, who the hell's this guy? And I'm like, okay, I can articulate a little bit better now. Cool.
yeah, exactly. It's just the reps. And I think, any one of us has the ability to pretty much do anything,
Yeah.
reasonably, right? Within reason. And it's just about who's going to dedicate the time to go do it. I think I'm learning a lot of this stuff being a young father as, I see my 5-year-old say to me like, Dad, I'm not good at this. And I'm like, well, of course you're not. You're 5 years old. Like, you start throwing a football last week. How do you expect to be good at it? It's kind of like laughable to me. But then I go and I try to do something with video and I go, ooh, I'm not good at script writing. That was a terrible video that I made. Well, you're 43 years old, Farid. Like you've never written a script before in your life. Why do you think you would be good at this? And I like laugh at myself when I think about those things. But I think like, I find myself able to tell him like, you have your whole life ahead of you. You can choose anything that you want to be an expert at. Just start doing it now. And you're 6, so you'll be an expert at it. Like, and I think we need to keep reminding ourselves that as adults is like, we can also be the expert at whatever we want at any given time. We just got to go
100%.
seek the knowledge and do the reps.
Yeah, and I like how you said about your kid because when I was younger, my parents never really understood how to put that into me of helping me gain that understanding that I could pretty much do what I wanted, but I had to put reps into it. I feel we instill that in our kids at such a young age. They have that mindset and they grow that mindset. So they could be like our age, they're just fucking powerful as shit, They're
Yeah.
unstoppable.
Yeah. I know. I
Like
think
that at a
about,
young age.
I was always like supported with the thought of like, you could be whatever you want to be.
Yeah.
But it was never like, nobody told me the reality that like, but you're terrible at it now. So keep working on it. Nobody
They're all
gave me
delusional because of it.
exactly. And it was like, and then I start believing that I won't put everybody in this bucket. I start believing at a certain age, well, that's just a bunch of BS that your parents tell you to make you feel good. And I start believing, well, that's just not possible. Then it took another 15 years of my life to believe, no, that it's possible. You just have to try it. I start learning all the mindset around driving me to those points. But
Right?
I start learning like, it was almost like you will achieve this because you're such a cute little kid and you're going to be great one day. But it wasn't like, well, let me tell you some action steps to actually get to your goals. And I think so much we wish of the world our goals, and then we get disillusioned when we don't get our wishes. But we don't
Right?
do the things to put us in place for us to actually receive those goals. So, we're not doing those reps. We're not putting us in those places. We're not making the crappy YouTube videos. So somebody's going to see that and say, hey, I want to work with you, or here's some advice to make this better, or whatever. You have to be out there doing the thing. We can't just sit home and say, hey, world, please give me everything, and
I'm
meditate
not.
and hope that it exactly like manifest it. And I believe in manifesting, but you got to go out there and create the world for you to receive your manifestations.
There's all these videos people watch to teach them how to do things, do all you can be, but people don't understand how to actually implement that into their life and do those things and take the steps. They don't talk about those steps very well. And I know that looks different for everybody, but you just got
Yeah.
to take that first step. Just take the baby steps. Take the first step. There you go. Now you can, learn to walk before you can run, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when we talk about think about it in AI and sales and certain things like that,
Yeah.
I find myself so knee deep in this stuff that when I see a workflow, I think through like, oh, wow, we could do X, Y, Z. We could write this thing, we could create the video. And I have to realize who I'm approaching maybe at a much different level with their adoption of AI.
If someone doesn't know how to implement systems into a business at all, they're on level one about that. What's a system?
Yeah, exactly. And even starting to understand, okay, how do you define the workflow to then identify the problems? And
What's the
sometimes
workflow?
they're approaching that exactly for the very first time. You mean Jim filing those TPS reports? Like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. And like how we work
Sorry.
on those things.
I know working with, okay, full disclosure, I work with you with AI. Okay, everyone. Farid actually helping me implement AI into my business. And I'm actually learning about the workflows and systems because I myself did not understand all the systems that have to be set up or SOPs that have to be in place to kind of have those workflows followed. So you give the AI something to program and work with. I didn't quite understand that. I'm still learning it.
Yeah. And I think anybody who says that they know it is lying, right? Because we are all still learning it. And the industry, our options are constantly changing week by week, tool by tool. Like every day you turn on the news and you have 2 or 3 different capabilities. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. I do look at that. I think talking about yourself, right, as a client, you're very you're technologically skilled, you understand AI, you're using AI. And I think
Learning.
we're still able to sit down and just like, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but I think one of the best values we provide to you is just being able to talk with you through it, to
Yeah.
talk to you about that goal, to see, okay, like let's talk about the business. Where are you trying to get to? Let me coach
Sometimes I
and
don't know.
be there and identify different avenues to use these technologies, or maybe let's not focus on that now. You keep doing that manually because we're going to focus on this. How do you feel about that? We do a lot of those conversations. And I think in those aspects, you could go sign up for 20 different tools and probably provide
Yeah.
technical,
What kind of mad person would do that?
certainly an avenue, but I think
I have like 18. Okay.
exactly. But I think that being able to put it together allows me to more holistically understand your business and your goals and figure out how we can put that together. But yeah, I look at it like it's been interesting with your focus on mindset as well, because you have those right viewpoints of saying, I understand the why and I know where we're going to go. Where sometimes it's more transactional when you're looking at these things.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think it should be
Like
more.
I'm learning a lot with this, the difference between the AI I use and what AI agents can actually do for me.
Yes. Yeah,
Still learning
exactly.
that. Find out a little more, I'd like to know.
Yeah.
For the audience
So
who doesn't understand what I'm saying.
great thing. Yeah. So we have yeah, AI agents is the new buzzword. It's now getting taken by agentic workflows, which is the really new buzzword as of like a few weeks ago. But
Can't
This
keep
is the
up.
idea, essentially, is we had AI tools, and we're comfortable with that concept. ChatGPT, Dolly to make images. And let's think about those all as tools. And we also have other tools like Copilot in Microsoft or Gemini in Google that can write an email for you. And so what we do is we've created a layer of AI agents as well. And think of these AI agents more as virtual digital employees. And so they have a persona, they have a set of skills, they have a certain knowledge stack or knowledge set. Sorry, I think we had a connection issue. Knowledge stack. And
I think you might
sorry,
have
I'll
cut
go
out and
back into
lost you a
agents.
little bit. Well, there you
Yeah,
go.
I lost the agents. I'll rewind back to the agents. But so what we go ahead and do is we build these agents, right? And we can think of them as like almost like a digital virtual employee. For instance, right? We still have these tools, Google for our email, HubSpot for our CRM. They all have AI functionality within them, but we would give them to a new employee. When a new employee joined our company, a real human being, we would say, okay, now here's your Google and here's your HubSpot, here's your Notion account. We give them all these tools to do their work. Well, we do the same thing with AI agents. We'll build them a persona, we'll build them a knowledge, we deploy them into your system, let's say like a Slack agent, and now we give it access to a set of tools. A tool to scrape YouTube videos, a tool to send emails out. And then we could build one agent who's like the super VA who just does everything for you and has one personality. Or we could build 5 agents. We could build a marketer agent with a personality that would best fit a marketing manager and a set of tools that would best fit the marketing department. And we can build another agent who's your sales agent who has a personality that fits who you would like as your
They
salesperson.
have multiple Lisas.
You can have multiple Lisas. Exactly. You have your one VA Lisa,
Giants.
and you could have a content writer. And that's how we start putting that together. And then what's really like amazing to me, at least, maybe just me, is that they can
Oh,
all
that's
interact with each other, right? And it's fascinating as you can start saying, hey, Lisa, please write me a email to my client about what ITee CMD does, right? And it will go and ask your content writer to research the company and write a nice email. And then it will get back that output and change it to be in your wording, in your style, because it's going out to that email. Now, if you said, just write me that document because I want it as a company one sheet, then it's just going to go ask your content writer agent to go write it for a company one sheet and then present it to you just like that because it's not trying to sound like you. So these personal agents all have their own voices. They all can do their own thing, and then we can reformat their work, rewrite it. And these things happen, a matter of seconds. Multi-chain agent, you'll get back research document rewritten as an email in less than a minute. And
There's
so I
so
feel
much
like,
time saving. It's ridiculous how this
yeah,
works now.
and what I'm finding in our company, we have 10 people internally that work on our projects, and every single one of them is powered with their own agent. And so I don't look at it as like a cost savings. We don't have any agents in our company that have replaced people, or we don't have any jobs that are covered by agents. But every agent in our every person is a co-pilot, has a co-pilot agent, as we call it. And they work together with that. So they should never have to research something twice. When we're writing a draft, we should just always use AI because even if we're really good, it's going to cut out 90% of that grunt work time.
Oh,
And then
100%.
we just build in feedback loops to make that output better. The first output, we're trying to get time to first output as fast and as good as we can every single time. And that's what we're constantly looking at. And that's what we do with Lisa, right? Every single time there's a little,
Yes. Full
we're
disclosure, her name is Lisa.
looking at the outputs and trying to make that better. And then and then once we got that nailed down, we can look at expanding those onboarding team. But just as you as an entrepreneur, if you're doing it old school, you'd hire a VA first, and then you would work together with your VA and you would generate some capacity to hire on maybe a sales or marketing. And we do the same thing. It's just all virtual with what we're doing. And then if the companies, as you grow, we recommend that you hire somebody to manage that agent. And I think that's how we create authentic businesses with human beings that are powered by AI.
Agents and human beings working side by side. God bless America.
Well, it's the American dream, right?
Right? Going out to war, you got your soldier, you got your AI. Soldier,
Yeah.
AI, let's go. Wait, maybe too soon, but
I'm doing all this because I want a 4-day work week.
yeah, okay.
That's what we're going for here.
I want to be as efficient as possible in those mundane tasks that I don't want anyone else doing, wasting their time on, but also that needs to be done so I can spend my time and people who I eventually hire spend their time in doing things that truly matter and help them build a purpose in their lives in the future, you know?
Yeah.
That's my goal with this. Don't want to sit to do administration work all day. I mean, unless you're into that kind of thing.
I absolutely hear you. Yeah. I mean, we do some work with public schools.
Ooh.
And I was talking with teachers, and we're kind of like, let's change this mindset that we're here to come teach. We're not planning to teach. Like, that's not the goal. I don't think this would be very good at teaching. This is K through 12, so little kids, elementary school kids and stuff. I don't think this would be a good goal to teach them that way. But you spend so much of your time grading homework and looking at papers and doing assessments and stuff that, if in the perfect world, you would have a team of assistants to help you with that stuff. So you could focus on little Mary, little Johnny's problems and be there to teach. But we don't have that. We don't have the funds for that as a society. We're not being able to provide you that as a tool. So let AI be your teacher's assistant. You don't have to give it the teaching work. You just give it the grading work. Like, you choose what you give it. And then you can choose to then be available and be there for, Mary or Timmy or Johnny, whoever you need to help along the way.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah,
Absolutely
so I'm looking at it like, we still are in control. Remember, you can always turn the power button off. You can,
Or can you?
Exactly. This little AI robot comes and turns it back on for you.
It's like your answer is non sequitur. Delete.
Exactly. At least today, we still can turn the power off.
Thank you so much for coming on with your amazing insights on AI and just being an awesome human being, Farid. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, man. It's always fun. Tons of high energy conversations about this stuff. So it's been good. And I was able to shed one or two useful things along the way of the stories, but it's a fun subject for me. So I run up.
Insightful. Yes. Before we go, is there any insights you'd like to leave our audience with? And where can they reach you if they'd like to work with you as well, building their own AI systems in their business?
Thanks. Yeah, absolutely. Insight is a good question. I think it's like, you can go out there and you can go and do what you want. Like, I think the technology shouldn't scare anybody. That, the time is there, like all these barriers that we put in our way. I think AI and other technologies has opened up some very unique ways to change that now. And there's a lot of opportunity that's opened up in the last few years because of some of these technologies. So I feel like I just encourage everybody, like, if you've been dreaming of it, this is the time. There's never going to be easier to start a business than it is right now and to build these automations. And I encourage anybody listening, if you feel like any of this resonates, you want to learn more about AI, you can feel free to reach me on all the socials. If you type Farid Kheloco in, that's the only Farid Kheloco out there. It's another story for another day. But you can find me there, and if it's Farid at Purely Startup, and I'm sure you can share that in the show notes.
Yes, we'll share that in the note.
Happy to answer any questions, and I just really geek out on mindset and business and AI. So don't feel like you need to reach out to be a customer or whatever. If you have a question, feel free to reach out. I'd love to have the conversation.
Hell yeah, brother. Thank you again for coming
Absolutely.
on here, Farid. Until next time.
Thank you, Justin. I'll talk to you soon, man. Take
Bye.
care. Bye.